Welcome everyone. My name is Chris Justice. I'm a coordinator here with the Digital Learning and Instructional Technology Department with the district. I've been with the district for about 16 and a half years. Excited to be here in this position talking about instructional technology and how we can use it to be more efficient as educators. Yeah, this question keeps coming up about whether or not we're getting away from Canvas. You know, it kind of depends on your school site, really. It really comes down to your principal and your school administrator leadership. It's likely that Canvas and Classroom will be available, both platforms available to you next school year. There is a chance then you'll want to talk to your administrative team whether or not they'll turn one off or the other. I know that some high schools, the principals have specifically turned off Classroom. I haven't heard anybody turning off Canvas, just so you know. So yeah, talk to your school site administrator about if there's going to be one chosen platform over the other. You know, in my perfect world, I feel like I'd be able to use both. I'm a huge Canvas person. I'm a big fan of it. I ran my entire classes. I used to teach science, ran all of my classes through Canvas, like everything, all the assignments, everything came in through them. But there's some really awesome functions here in Classroom. And I feel like if I had the option, the choice, the opportunity maybe, that my school site administrator didn't turn off one or the other, I'd probably use both, to be honest with you. So let's talk a little bit about why Classroom is really awesome and how it can maybe even augment your Canvas environment too. So let's get into Classroom. I'll grab this link here for us. Put it into the chat. If you're not there already, go ahead and click classroom.google.com. Let's open that up in a new tab. Hopefully you have a couple tabs going, one with the Meet, with My Visuals, another tab with Classroom. I just gave you that link there. We'll open up another tab later on if we need it. This is kind of like the dashboard in Canvas world, right? When we first log in here, we get a tile of each of our different classes that will, the cool thing here, that will automatically be added to your dashboard via enrollments in Infinite Campus. So if you're familiar with Classroom from 6 years ago, this wasn't a thing. You'd have to manually create your classes and then give a code out to students for students to then add themselves onto the class, and that's not a thing anymore. One of the huge reasons why we're bringing Classroom back is because of integration between Classroom and Infinite Campus. So as you have sections and students in your Infinite Campus, they'll automatically be provisioned and rostered into your classrooms here in this system, which is great. That also means that any assignments that you put into your Google Classroom will be synced and sent to your Infinite Campus as well. In the upper right-hand corner is this little plus sign. So you actually don't need to do this anymore, right? Where it says create the class. You don't have to do that for your classes in August. They'll automatically be created for you, which is cool. For our purposes, though, just so that we can have a class to play around with, let's go ahead and click on that plus sign in the upper right-hand corner. We'll click Create Class. Now look what it's doing on my screen. It says, oh, if I have my Infinite Campus connected right here, I might see all of my sections right now. Don't do that, because your students don't have access to Classroom this school year unless you're at one of the pilot schools. So even though the classes look like you can sync and all that stuff, the kids can't get onto it. So don't import anything. We'll click Skip, and let's call this Sandbox. We have sandboxes in Canvas. Figure we're going to have a sandbox here in Classroom too. And for me, since I'm doing this class a bunch of times over the summertime, I'm going to put in a date so I can remember which ones are which. We'll click Create in the lower right-hand corner. Yeah, I'll show you that, Lynn, in a second. Lynn has a question about archiving. Actually, I think it's a manual archive. Click Create. All right, so there you go. Let's talk a little bit about about that dashboard. So this menu here we might need to expand. If you're looking at my screen, we can go back to the home. Notice I have a sandbox from last Tuesday's session. So yeah, if I wanted to get rid of some of my old classes, if I have stuff in there from 6 or 8 years ago even, right? I can click on that triple dots, that vertical ellipsis, click more options, and this is where I can archive my old classes. And I can do like a bulk archive too, which is kind of cool. I'm just going to do that one though. Click next, and it's not like you're deleting them. You can still access your old archived classes down here. So in that toolbar on the left-hand side, notice that archived classes is one of the options. You can check out all your old stuff right there. Okay, what else? Let's go back to, yeah, so let's click on home. That's how we can get all of these. I also wanted to show you this. I think, I don't know if I mentioned this, but you can move these tiles around. So if you start to get your classes and you want them to be in a specific order, exactly the way that you want, you can move them around just like you can in Canvas, which is great. What were the other options here? So when I click on more options again on that vertical ellipsis, yeah, the invite link, you don't need to worry about that. Like I said, those students will be automatically imported into your classroom. You can make a copy of it, all that good stuff. Okay, well, we probably don't want to do that. Let's open up our sandbox. Can I rename my classroom? Let's see if we can do that in the upper right-hand corner. So I don't, that's a good question as to whether or not we need to keep that name the same as what is an Infinite Campus. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. But I think up in class options, so if I open up my class and I click on this little settings, this cog in the upper right, this is where I can change that name. All right, looks like there's also some of that SIS integration, so I can link it if I wanted to. And I get a little bit of control over the way that it works. Looks like I can also invite some guardians as well. So if you're in an elementary school and you're managing 32 students, 38 students, whatever it is, you can get your parents into that classroom as well, which is kind of cool. When I taught biology, I like to lecture sometimes. This is after the pandemic, and I used to actually do like draw notes using my document camera. I would be in the front, my desk, and I'd have all my students had Chromebooks, right? And so I actually had them like join up a Meet. What's really cool is that you can use the translation capabilities of Meet. And I would do like a lecture and kind of draw notes on the good old-fashioned handout with some colored pencils and stuff, but you can create a Meet link really easily here too. So in class, or if you wanted to do something like that, using a Meet within your actual face-to-face class, that's kind of a cool way to do it. I know that like NVLA, if they're going to embrace Classroom, that would be a good way to get your students out to a link as well. All right. Yeah, you can also, I'm looking again at my at the class settings is all we're at right now. And you might want to, in Infinite Campus next year, set up your formative and summative categories first, because you can import those here as well. So then you can start to assign your different assignments in Classroom based off of those categories that you have in Infinite Campus. All right, so let's get rid of those class options. That was a good question. You can also customize this banner here. So if you have something that you wanted to change out, maybe the color, or choose a different color, or maybe your math class or something, geometry. Let's click that as my theme. Maybe I'll make this green, and we'll click save. So we can customize it a little bit. Maybe you have a different banner for each of your periods to help you remember. All right, some of the tabs that we have available to us. So the stream, this acts like as the kind of a Facebook stream, more or less. This, in fact, is the first thing that your students will see when they get into your class. And the stream is exactly what you think it is going to be. As you add announcements and assignments and slide decks and content to your class, they'll show up in chronological order here in the stream without a lot of organization. So the way that we want to organize a lot of the content, just like we might in Canvas, we'll use modules. Well, in Classroom world, they're not modules, they're called topics. So let's go ahead and click on, if you're in your sandbox, I'd love for you guys to click on Classwork. Yeah, somebody asked, can you personalize the banner or just the preset ones? Yeah, you can upload your own photos and images, absolutely. So I click on Classwork, and let's click on Create. And before we click on Topic at the bottom, let's just take a look at some of the things we can add to our classes, like assignments. If we've got a good old-fashioned Google Doc handout, we'll get into that. We can add quiz assignments. Those will show up as Google Forms, which is kind of cool. We can add a question. It's not really a discussion question, but something that students would answer multiple choice-wise within their stream, right? Hey guys, open up your the stream on your classroom, find today's question of the day, either answer it as a multiple choice question or whatnot, right? Maybe it's a survey. You can add material. All that really is like a slide deck, right? Or if you have material in the form of a doc. Now, and this is one of the big differences between Classroom and Canvas. Canvas, we can house content in a page. Here in Classroom, you don't really have the page option, but you can house content and design content within a Google Doc, and then you would add that Google Doc as material, if that makes sense. Of course, this could also be a slide deck as well. If I wanted to add some of my old posts from previous years, let's say I'm like on day 3 of my school year, and I'm like, oh yeah, I was doing something really great last time. I could reuse my posts. I can pull up my old classes. Looks like the ones that are unarchived, which is to say I can't access my old archived classes. I can only keep and find the ones that are there this year, if that makes sense, on my dashboard. But I can find assignments from previous years or other classes, or my Sandbox, right? Let's say I'm building it in my Sandbox. I can click Reuse Post and bring it into my student-facing class that way too, which isn't a bad idea. All right. Oh, here's the other thing. We'll go over all of this here in a moment too. This is the point of the class. In fact, I've got to go back to my slide deck and show you the agenda. I'm just jumping right into this. But you can, we'll probably stay away from Notebook LM, but you can really quickly get a gem out to your students in a really cool way. You know, you can get that link and put it into your Canvas class. This actually will help us make the gem and the instructions and the prompt itself. It's really cool. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. What I'd like to do though, so let's go ahead and click on topic. So like I said, the topic is kind of like a module. So we can house all of the content and the assignments, all the stuff that we'll create within this new topic. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of a standard or topic that you'd like to build some materials for. Maybe it's something that you'll use on day 1 of the school year next year. Maybe it's something that you can use next week, right? And maybe put it in Canvas if you wanted to, but maybe we can build it out here in Classroom. I used to teach AP Environmental Science, and so what I'm going to do is everything that I'm going to create for me is going to be on topic 5.5, which is irrigation methods. So take a moment, about 30 seconds or so, think about a standard, think about a topic, something that you feel like you're going to teach that you want to create a handout for, maybe a gem on, and let's make that into a topic. If you just want to call it Unit 1, that's fine too. I'll give you 30 seconds. All right. Finishing up our tour of the classroom interface here, we're looking at the extra tabs at the top. People, this is where your students will start to show up, along with any of the guardians that might be present. Looks like we can, I don't have a lot of experience with this because I don't have students that I can add to this to have fun with it and play around with it, but it looks like I can also create groups, and so I can add students into specific groups, which is kind of cool. And then probably assign to those different groups if I wanted to. It looks like the grades are here. Again, I don't really know what this looks like, but I'm assuming that there's going to be a list of all the assignments and then your students and then ways to open up those assignments and give them grades. And then this might look a little different on your student view too, right? Like a list of all your assignments along with the grades that the teacher gives. And then the analytics, this is kind of neat here. If you have a bunch of students in here, you can look to see how the students are interacting with your class. So let's say you're on a parent-teacher conference and you wanted to like talk a little bit about the participation of one of the students. You can pull this up and it'll give you some good data that you can be armed with for one of those meetings. All right, let's go back to Classroom. Actually, let me go back to my agenda here because I just went right into it. So we did the very first thing in our agenda here today, which was to create a sandbox, an area that doesn't have students or anybody else. I would suggest you also don't add anyone to any of these classes, and not just your sandbox, but the classes that you teach too. It starts to get confusing. I know with Canvas during the pandemic, we were adding co-teachers and all that stuff. I would stay away from that. Just keep this on yourself, to yourself, right? Because those tiles will start to show up on your own dashboard too, and it gets, I don't know, a little cluttered, I feel like. The other good thing that I can tell you too is like, do not ever add, this is good practice here, don't add a student as a teacher. If you're doing, I know this happens in the secondary world, right? We have student teachers, and we might want to have those student teachers grade work or something like that. I would be really careful about doing that. It's something that we can prevent from happening in Canvas. It's not something that we can prevent from happening in Classroom though. So the way that we're trying to, as a department, get you guys to know that is just to say, hey, bad practice to add a student as a teacher. You don't want them to have some of the access that you might have with the grade books and all that. All right, what else are we going to do here today? Yeah, you might be able to delete, Kelly, you might be able to delete the classes in that archived area. Might be worth giving it a try. So what we're going to do is create a little mini unit here within that topic, all right, or that standard, the one that you chose earlier. We're going to use some AI tools here to craft a compelling hook for that topic or standard. We're going to create a visual and then write some alt text for that image. We're going to create and assign a Google Doc handout. We'll use AI to help us write some informational text. We'll format that doc, put it into Classroom. This is super easy. The coolest part about Classroom is how fast and easy you can create a quiz, and so I'll show you what that looks like. And then as promised, our grand finale here will be to create a gem for your classroom using some of the content that we create. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff here. Luckily, we've got AI to help us get through it. Let's do the first one here, craft a compelling hook. For me, again, I'm going to use irrigation methods. You use the topic that you'd like to. If it's something that you're teaching tomorrow, go for it, right? All right, so how do we get to Gemini within Classroom? Look at your menu on the right, which is to say the left-hand side. You might need to expand this menu to see it. It's the fourth link down from the top, the one that says Gemini. Let's click on that. Really awesome set of tools here. So, you know, if you're familiar with gems, we've done a lot of training on gems. Gems are these prompts that you can pre-written prompts that you can do over and over and over again. That's what these are here, right? Like I mentioned before that we can generate a quiz really easy. That's right here. I'll show you what that interface looks like too. We can write informational text. We can re-level that text. And there's all of these different really cool things, right? If you're an elementary teacher, you can have it write a story that's specific to your audience. It can help us translate text. If you look down below, some of these other prompts here, we're going to use this one in a moment. Let me look for it. Create an image to, create an infographic. So these are also kind of like pre-written prompts that all we have to do is just put in our information and it will start to create some of these outputs for us really easily. So how about this? Well, let me go back to my agenda. Which one are we doing first? Compelling hook. So I want you to find the one that says craft a compelling hook. It's the yellow light bulb in the set of resources towards the top of Gemini. So let's click on craft a compelling hook. There we go. How cool is this, right? We're going to type in the grade that we teach, and then, you know, you can really get into it and you know, craft out a really wild prompt if you wanted to. Watch what I'm going to do. All I'm going to do is just type in my topic. If you have a specific standard, you know, type in that specific standard and it already knows. In fact, we were playing around a little bit with some of the tier 1 materials and whether or not AI knows those tier 1 materials. If you reference them, It does. So if you're really specific about your tier 1 materials, as you type it into this little text box right here, it will likely understand exactly what you're asking it to do. Let's try and finish this out. I'm just going to call it APES, AP Environmental Science. Take a look. We can figure out different ways we can engage our students. I like movement and activity. Get those juniors out of their tables, out of their chairs, walking around, talking to each other. And we'll click generate. I love it because it gives me 6 different options, right? Hey, the bell's about to ring in 5 minutes. Like, how am I going to start off this HMH material here, right? Well, hey, this might give us some ideas, right? I'm doing this live here, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time vetting this. That's one of our jobs here as instructors in the AI world, is to vet it for bias, vet it for accuracy. So you might see me do some really terrible AI practices, just like saying, oh, this is perfect. Like, in reality, I'm going to spend a little bit more time here. But so, I can just do that. I can copy and paste it if I wanted to. I can export it to docs. In fact, how about we do this? Choose one of them just at random. I'm going to grab the top left, because I'm looking at the materials. All I need is some masking tape and some crumpled paper wads. I'll be able to get that really easily. So I'm going to copy that. Boom. Let's go back to our class. Notice that we can access our classes from that menu on the left-hand side. And let's make a new announcement. So notice that we're on the stream. If you're looking at my feed right now, my visuals, I'll click New Announcement. And I'll just paste in that hook. That way students, when they come in, they'll know exactly what I want them to do. Right, take a look at the instructions on the announcements, along with any links that I might want to put in there. In fact, notice I can add a YouTube video. I can add anything from my drive, like a PDF or a Google Doc, links, video recordings, upload anything I wanted to. Now, you might wonder, okay, one of the benefits of Canvas is that we can cross-link all of our sections together, right? We can run all of our 5 sections of algebra out of just one section in Canvas. Now, that's a limitation here with Classroom. That functionality doesn't happen, but it is very easy to make assignments and announcements, add things to our classes in bulk. So notice right now I've got right here, take a look, right? I can choose this for who's my audience. I can choose my different sections. Right, so I'm not cross-listing, but I can add these materials very quickly to all of them. Because of that, just think about this for a second. If I make a mistake, or I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to put this one little piece of item in there, I'll have to go back and do it all, or go to each one of those individual sections and edit it. So just be really careful, double, triple check, get in the habit of doing that before you click post. Notice too, look at this. I can schedule out this post. So if I'm on an A block, B block day, if I'm at a high school that has a block schedule, I can actually schedule this out based off of those individual. Look at this, right? Based off of that individual class. So maybe this is my B day here. Add the option for time as well. There we go. And here's my other A day. Yeah. So now I can, send these out on different days, which is kind of cool, right? This section will get it on April 30th at 8 a.m. So I'll click schedule, and boom, I'm working smart. Now, if I didn't schedule that, let's go back. Can I cancel the schedule? Yeah, I'm just going to do it again. All right. So let's say that I didn't schedule it. I just wanted to post it right now. All right. Again, it's 1 minute before the bell rings. I'll just click post, and it will show. You can see what it looks like here in the kind of this draft stream feed here. So there it is. We're good to go. All right. So we used AI in Classroom to craft a compelling hook. Let's use some of those other tools. This one is going to create an infographic for us, all right? Let's go back to our class. We'll go to Gemini. Casey, if you linked it in Canvas and had to cross-list it in Canvas, Classroom and Canvas, I don't know if you're conflating the two or combining them. Yeah, if you have cross-listed your sections in Canvas, you only have to post that one time to that one section. In Classroom.
No, what I'm kind of asking is I thought I saw a link on Classroom that could like link to Canvas. Is that not, because I saw the LMS, would it not link to our Canvas page, what we create in Google Classroom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are two completely separate. Yeah, your students would have to log into those two different systems.
Got it.
If you're thinking about, yeah, like Google Gemini, I'm over here. They've got something called Canvas. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, no, because when we set up the Classroom, there was like an LMS. I had thought that maybe it was an LMS integration from Classroom into Canvas, but I don't use Classroom, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that was the SA, the Student Information System, is a reference to Infinite Campus. And yeah, that would be cool to have Canvas and Classroom talk. But yeah, they're two different profitable companies that are in charge of that stuff, right? So let's do this. Let's find creating an infographic. If you want to draw a comic, use one of these. Create an image to spark discussion. We're just going to open up one of these. Like I said, mine's a little bit more like content-wise, I suppose. So I think infographic would make sense if you're teaching a reading class. You might want to have a visual as a concept or something along those lines. Let's select one of these other prompts here. And notice that, ooh, okay, let's see what this does. All right, this is where I'm going to type in. It's funny because when I clicked on that last week, it did something completely different. So this is threw me for a loop here. All right, informational. Yeah, let's see what happens. Wow, that really was different. So last Tuesday, when I clicked on that, it opens up a Gemini like this over here. Boom. It brought me to gemini.google.com. And now it's actually better, I think. It doesn't bring me out of class. There it goes. I'm wrong. All right. I love it. I'm reading this. Is there another image I can try? I'm here to help you create all types of images, but I can't make images like that. I love that. Did it work for anybody out there? Isn't this great? Take a look at this. So I'm going to show you what it made like literally 1 week ago. April 22nd, that's last week, I feel like. Look what it did here. Same prompt, same system, and it made a really great visual. Like, this is all complete. So last week it did it. This week it's a little buggy, but hey, I guess that's just telling us like this stuff changes really fast. Google is getting ready for next school year, guaranteed, and so I'm sure that they're trying to iron out some of these issues. Here's what I was thinking. We're going to use that visual. If you don't have the visual, if the AI is not working for you and creating a visual for you, we can just go online or we can skip it. Deborah got a good one. Okay, so it just didn't work for me, at least this time around. Last week it did. Yeah, Christina did. Yeah, it looks so different compared to what I did last time. Interesting. Let me try it one more time. I don't even know. Yeah. Irrigation methods, environmental science. I want it to work. All right. We got 30 minutes left, so we might just skip this. Keeping in mind that it worked for me last week, and what we're trying to do here in a moment is we're going to create a nice handout that we can assign in Classroom. So that's all I'm trying to do is just get a nice visual. All right. Mine did nothing, looped me back to the beginning. Ah, look at this. It worked just like, then I tried it a second time. I love that. So that just did that literally. Now you're watching this in real time. Uh, 5 minutes ago, it didn't work. 5 minutes later, it did. It looks pretty good. If I remember my curriculum properly, these are the 4 different methods that could show up on the AP Environmental Science exam. And it looks pretty good. Again, I'd have to vet it and make sure it's good to go, but I'm doing this live, so we're going to move on. All right. If it didn't work, if it looped me back to the beginning, like Daniel said, try it again. It worked for me the second time. If not, go on Google and find an appropriate image, and we can just do it the good old-fashioned way, right? All right, so let's do this. Again, we're still in this class is called Google Classroom and AI Made Easy. We're trying to make AI easy. Let's do this one. We're going to write some informational text. Let's click on that. Boom. Type in your target grade. Again, that topic that you've been working with, or standard. I think the more specific we are with like where this topic is coming from, the better, I think, is what my issue might have been. All right, so we're going to write some informational text. Let's do this. How easy is this, right? Like if we were using Gemini.google.com, you'd have to type in a specific prompt and go through hoops sometimes to create exactly what we wanted. This does it really fast. Tells us our recommended learning objectives, which I can augment, add to. Let's assume that they're good. I'll click generate. I like it. Look at that. Boom. Pretty cool. Notice I can just add this directly to my class. I'm like, this is my page of content, right? Like clickety click, I can now start to add that to my sandbox directly. Even choosing the type, like material, right? But we're going to turn this into a good old-fashioned assignment here. Let's talk a little bit about accessibility too. What I like about this tool in Classroom is that it created something that kind of resembles questions that go along with the topic. So if I'm pinched for time, I'm like, I need a handout. I don't want to print it. I need some questions. Go to your Classroom. It'll write out some material for you and give you some reflection points of inquiry that we can turn into analysis questions. All right, and let's click on Export to Docs. We want to mess around with this. Add that infographic from earlier. Let's talk a little bit about digital age handouts. Like this, right? In fact, I'm going to make this. I'm just going to mess around with the title a little bit. There is this movement for increased accessibility for students who might need it, right? Students that might use a screen reader, for example, right? A screen reader is technology that for a student that can't see, that uses headings, structured headings, hierarchical heading structures to be able to know exactly where the screen reader is in a large document of text. Right now, this title is in normal text. So what I would want to do then to make this a little bit more screen reader friendly and make it more accessible for all students and any parents that might also use those materials too, is select this title, change it from normal text, and then we want our highest heading to be heading 1 or title. Boom. All right, we've got a couple paragraphs. And then down here, let's change this from reflections and points of inquiry to analysis questions. And then rather have this be normal text, what we'll do is we'll not make this heading 1, we'll turn it into heading 2. So every heading underneath that initial heading 1 or title needs to be less than, so that the screen reader understands exactly where it is. A good way to determine whether or not you're there is if you're looking at your docs, click on that this little show tabs area, and you should see that the headings here are nested underneath properly. The highest one is my title, and then underneath it is analysis questions. All right, let's turn this into a handout. So let's, handouts have numbers instead of bullet points. So let's turn that into a 1, 2, 3. I always like to add a little bit of space. So I'll click on that little up in my toolbar in Docs. I'll click on the little arrows pointing up and down, and I'll add space after list item. I'm going too fast. Again, we're recording this. My apologies if I am going too fast. And then here's what I do in the digital age here, right? I'm going to just add normally we might add a bunch of, spaces or something that we're going to print it out. No, we're not going to print this. We're putting this in Classroom. So what I'm going to do is add a little hashtag right there, and then I'll turn that hashtag yellow, or I'll use a highlighter. Choose some color that doesn't decrease accessibility, right? So it's got to be bright, like yellow. And now that on day 1 of my school next year, I tell my students, all right, you guys, wherever you see the yellow hashtag, that's where you do something. That's where your answers go. So I'm just going to add this at the end. I tell the kids, don't change the font, don't change the color. It helps me grade it, and we're good. All right, here's the other thing I would suggest you guys do. I started to do this recently here. We're still living in this 8.5 by 11 world, right? The way that this dock is set up, it's set up to be printed still. You know what I did? I took my printer out of my office. I don't really print anything anymore. Why do I need to? Everything's digital. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up to File. You guys do the same. Click on File. Head down to Page Setup. And then turn this from pages into page lists. It just takes away the idea of paper altogether. And it just makes this look, I don't know, to me a little bit more cohesive. It's no longer 2 pages, it's just one scrolled page with the questions at the bottom. And I don't have some of those issues with formatting when I start to say, okay, I need to get question 3 on page 2 here. It keeps going to page 3. That doesn't exist anymore because there's no more pages. That's kind of cool. All right. Again, I want to clean this up a little bit. Oh yeah. Watch this. We're going to add in that infographic that I made earlier, which is to say AI made it. Let's copy this image, and then we're just going to paste it in. I mentioned here that we can use AI to help us write some alt text. I think that we're running out of time on this, so we're going to, give me a minute. It's like I might need to save. Okay, there we go. Let's insert it this way. So we're going to skip the alt text part. Very cool. I love that. Isn't that great? It didn't work. Isn't technology fabulous? You know what I'm going to do? Let's go back to my old one. This is so much fun. We're doing this live. You never know when something's not going to work. There. Yeah, cool. Give me a moment. I want to. Now I'm getting upset. I'm just kidding. Okay. Let's pull up this picture. What I'm trying, it's not working for me. Was it working for you out there, folks? Yeah, it's great stuff. It worked for Eva, good. I think I know what I'm doing wrong. There it goes. Lovely. Isn't it frustrating? All right, we're just gonna pretend like it worked the whole time, and then we'll edit the video to make it seem like it was seamless. All right, I'm just kidding. No, so now we have an image in there too, and something that looks kind of like a handout, right? If I printed this out, it would cost me hundreds of dollars a year in toner. But I can use look at this, the version history. This is why I really love docs. You can assign these in Canvas too, using the external tool. Up here, this version history tells me how students are interacting with it. You can see here that I just copied and pasted in the text, right? You can see where I try to mess around with that image here, but If a student is doing their own work and typing everything within their doc, the Google here is recording each of those keystrokes, right? So, you know, if they're doing their own work, they should have a lot of entries in this version history. If they just have all of a sudden, boom, a chunk of text that just shows up, you can assume that they're using AI and just copying and pasting, right? Yeah, kids are going to cheat. They're going to do it. If you printed this out, they're going to grab their friends and furiously write down all the answers. Or you can do it online, and at least with online you have this version history. So again, where did I come to the version history? In the doc, in the near the upper right is this little clock with an arrow that's pointing counterclockwise. That's where you get the version history. I'd love going to those student-teacher conferences and bringing this up. Like, let's look at your participation here in the class. Click on the button. Oh, tell me where did this chunk of text come from? Oh, copied and pasted it. Great. Anyway, fun stuff. Okay, so let's put that into our class. Let's go back to our sandbox. Remember, the first thing we see is stream. This is actually something I really don't like about Classroom. I'd rather have it be Classwork as my very first default. Can I? No, I can't move those. I would love to have just class. I don't think stream is my favorite thing. Anyway, so click on Classwork. Yeah, you agreed with me, Lynn. I agree. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of stream. So let's do this. We're going to click on Create, and then let's click on Assignment. All right, I guess I'm going to grab the title from my handout from earlier. Notice I can, you know, if you wanted to add a gem, boom, you can do that here. If you're secondary, I feel like Notebook LM is probably going to be more for the secondary crowd out there. You can add a link to your to that as well. Read along, you know, I'll be honest with you, I haven't played around with that yet, but that sounds like it would be fascinating to be able to have something read to your students. Practice sets are really awesome. You can create an automatically graded assignment set that's housed within Classroom itself. It's not a form, actually is like a system that exists within Classroom. It's really great. Play around with that. Here's the thing, like this is a little bit beyond. I feel like I have to do a part 2 of this class because YouTube here, you can add YouTube videos, but not only that, you can add questions to those YouTube videos. So as those YouTube videos play, you can write the questions and the questions will pop up where you tell it to, just like Edpuzzle, just like Canvas Studio. Again, play around with some of these tools here after today's session in 18 minutes. To get to that handout here, we're going to click on Drive. Yeah, Gwendolyn, I'm sorry. I packed so much stuff in here, but like I said, I'm recording this, and I'll even give you some chapters so you can skip ahead to find the information. With my apologies. I know this is a lot. What I'm going to do too next year, I was given a lot of money to be able to pay teachers to come in on Saturday, thinking like a 2-hour live face-to-face session where I'm going to call it like go slow so that we can like really practice with this and pay you for it. So that's kind of cool. So be on the lookout in the PL documents for that sort of stuff. I'm thinking September of next year. So let's click on Drive. And then that doc here that we just made should show up as one of our last ones here. So let's pick and choose that one. Here's what I have to do. Look at this. Right now, if I just click Assign and I'm good to go, all students will be able to do is just open up the file. I actually don't want that. Look at that. I'm going to drop that down here. And I want to make a copy for each student. Don't forget this part. And what this is going to do is make exactly what you think it's going to do. It's going to add their name to the file. You will own them. So when students turn them in, their access to continue to write within them turns off, which is great, right? And then you can check, since you're the editor and the owner of these different student copies, you'll be able to check out that version history too, which is really great, right? Controlling the process a little bit more. So just like with paper-based world, as the students turn in their work, they don't have the access to continue to write on them, right? Well, same thing here with this, but a digital version of it. All right, again, I can add this to multiple sections here, right? No cross-listing, but there is a way to very quickly add something. But if I make a mistake, I'll have to go and fix each of those individually. I have the ability to create a due date. By the way, these dates will show up in your class, what am I saying, your calendar, which is pretty cool. All right, I want to add this to that topic that I made. Again, if I don't add it to a topic and I click assign, I'll have to go through and manually move those into the topic I wanted them to. If I had grading categories set like formative and summative, this is where I can set that as well. And I'm just going to make this 4 points. All right. Yeah, it looks like I've got schedule assign as well. Awesome. So if I'm on a block schedule, I can ensure that my B-Day kids can't see this until B-Day. Let's go ahead and just click assign them. All right. Just looking at my, let's let it do its thing. All right, there you go. Pretty wild stuff. Clickety click. And there's my teacher view here where I can access that doc and any other links or resources that I added to it. All right, I know I'm going, there's a lot of information. We got about 14 minutes left. We got two items left. Let's get through. I feel like that is going to be enough time to do it though, believe it or not. Let's get through quiz. How are we doing out there? I need to give you guys a minute to catch up. And so how about, some people are saying no, other people are, is the thumbs up, yes, I need an extra time. I can't assign, says Eva. Okay. Why? Maybe choose keep going. All right, I know. Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to click assign. Maybe you're missing a title. So check on that, Eva. All right. Let's do this. Let's go back to Gemini. The next thing on our schedule here is to create a quiz. You're going to love this. Oh my gosh. That was a good problem solving. I love it. Fine. Go back to Gemini in Classroom. Remember, it's the fourth link down labeled Gemini. Let's click on the purple link, the one that says generate a quiz. You're going to love it. This is insane. This is the best part. This should be our grand finale, really, but click on generate a quiz. I'm going to type in the number of questions I want, 10. Let's type in our topic or standard that we've been working with. You can do this with your students tomorrow, with anything you want. Like I said, AI might even know your Tier 1 instructional materials if you're really specific about it. All right. I chose 10 questions. I don't know if there's a limit on that. Look at this, I can choose my types too. So at the bottom, multiple choice and true, false, these are going to be automatically graded. The short answer and long answer, there's not any AI that's grading this stuff for us yet, which is probably a good thing. But if I got that in there, if I chose these, I'm gonna have to manually grade those. Let's click generate questions. All right, you're thinking, oh God, I have to copy and paste this. Come on, that wasn't anything. Wow. Scroll down. Watch this. Scroll down. Look at this. Export. And I actually, the best way to do, if you're happy with it, okay, if you wanted to edit it, you can export to forms, and then there's an extra step. I actually just going to add it to my class. Watch what it does. Choose my Sandbox. This is going to be a quiz assignment. I get more control over this in a second. It's going to open up a new tab, I think. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and there's my test. Look at this. Clickety click. Let's take a look at it. So it took all those questions and automatically made a form and turned the settings on so that it's works as a quiz. Ooh, look at this. Chromebook setting, locked mode. Respondents aren't allowed. This is something I haven't seen yet. Brand new. Respondents aren't allowed to open new tabs or other applications while taking the quiz. Okay, sign me up for that. But it's set up as a quiz. You know, forms can be forms, they can be surveys. This is the quiz version. Ooh, this new locked mode is on. Oh, you're going to have to tell me whether or not that works. But look at that. It took all those questions, put it in, and now I've got this gorgeous form. Let's grab this. I'll need to create a title, which is just going to be copied and pasted from the name of the form itself. I have the other option here to turn on locked mode on Chromebooks. Let's do that. Heck yeah. All right. And then just like last time, right, so we've got to make sure that we add this to all of our sections. We'll add it to the correct topic. We've got a due date. We'll say tomorrow. I do not believe that you can like prevent students from accessing this. So if you click assign, they can, I think that they can just get in there and start working on it. So one of the reasons why you'd probably really want to schedule these out to individual sections so that you don't have that problem, right? Or since it's so easy, reuse post, add in that resource right at the start of the period potentially, right? But yeah, that's one thing that Canvas allows us to do is lock down some of these materials. This one you can, from what I understand. All right, and just like last time, we're just fixing the points. You know, choose formative or summative, and now we've got. Yeah, Deborah, looks like the math's not working the way that you want it to, huh? Math, yeah, it's AI does not enjoy doing the math part. But you might be able to do a little bit longer version of it using Gemini, copy and paste job, and make your own forms potentially. All right, I will say too, I have 9 minutes left. Let me just real fast, the fear of like giving you way too much. I apologize. Let me show you this. Do you remember that practice set? I was not going to talk about this, but let's just real fast. It was one of the assignment types. So let's click create. Giving you guys cognitive overload here. Let's remember practice sets. So this could be potentially an opportunity here with math. So I'll click on practice set. And let's create a new one. And I can import that form here. And I believe that I have a little bit more control as to what, yeah, look at this. I can insert math formulas here. So look at this. At the bottom, I can import that form. And so now this is turning, so that puts all those questions now into a slightly different, it's not a form anymore. It's a practice set is what they're calling it. And then I have some control here as to inserting images. So maybe I have a screenshot of a formula, or I can insert the math formula itself. Yeah, ooh, look at that, right? There's pi. And Grammarly is getting in the way. There we go. So we try this out as a student. And that's what a practice set looks like. I can add in content in between. So it's like you can turn a really amazing looking handout, really self-graded handout, assuming that they're multiple choice questions. But that's one way to get around the math thing. All right, I guess maybe that's a good thing I chatted about this because we might have some math teachers out there. All right, and as we still have enough time to do the last thing on our agenda here, which is to chat a little bit about gems. By the way, look at this. When I made that practice set, look what happens when I don't put it into a topic. So it just shows up here. And I'd have to move it down to where I wanted it to be. All right, last thing here is let's click on create. You're gonna love this. The grand finale of today's session. Click on create. And you can do something similar with Notebook LM, but it's a little confusing. We got a lot of elementary teachers on board here today, and I, in my opinion, I don't know if I'd use a Notebook LM in elementary. It's certainly not with the younger kids, maybe 4th or 5th grade. But I think GEMS actually, I don't know what the grade cutoff would be. The GEMS are great. If you don't know what a GEM is, play around with this. It actually makes it really easy to understand through Classroom. So I'm still in my class. I'll click on create. I'm going to add a gem. Now, if I already have a gem ready to go, I can select from my existing gems, but Let's not do that. Look at that. This is the best one. Let's click create new, because what this is the people at Google have already written the gem for you. This is a prompt that you can use over and over and over again. It's like a program, a worded program, right? And it will execute that program, your instructions for the student. And one of the look at these different options here. So these different prompts here, pre-written prompts, could be study partner, quiz me, real world connector, brainstorm partner. Let's check out Quiz Me. This is an adaptive multiple choice quiz that's student facing. And look what happens. Watch this. I'll click on Quiz Me. And now I can choose the content. So another reason why we should have content within our classroom. I'm going to use that attachment here. Yeah, just this attachment from the handout that I made earlier. And so what that will do then, as we create that gem, the AI will use that content from that assignment to inform its answers and to create quiz questions that the student would work through. Let's click create gem. Let's see, I think it's going to open up a new tab where I have to like finalize it. All right, quiz me on irrigation methods. There we go. Let's click. And then notice the instructions. Look, we're never going to write anything like that. These instructions, if you're looking at my screen here, got some pretty wild sequence of steps that will happen. Assessing the student, giving them feedback even based off of that content. And where's that content? Look at this. That content shows up in the knowledge area of our gem. Click update, and we'll go back to that classroom because it's already attached. There it is. Let's call this quiz me. All right, just about done here. Let's add this to my different classes. Boom. And I believe that the name will automatically update. So let's click post. Yeah. There we go. Cross your fingers, let it do its thing. Pretty wild stuff. There it goes. Good. All right. So how do we get to that gem? There it is. Click on quiz me, and let's just test it out, see how it starts out. So I'll probably have to start, like say the word start as the student. All right. Could you please tell me your grade level? And so now it's going to tell me a little bit about or ask me as the student before it starts to give me some questions. And it looks like it's doing it right now. Pretty cool stuff, right? All right, easy, quick way to get a gem out to students. Not just get a gem out, but to create the gem itself. It's already done for us. Hey, that's AI made easy, in my opinion. Let me do this, a little plug here, you guys. One of the things that I do this school year, and I'm looking to expand it a lot more for next school year, is the Digital Learning Lab. I'm doing one tomorrow for homebound teachers. It's kind of cool. Do this 45-minute PL session that's delivered during your small group departmental PLC. You can reach out to me if you're interested. We can do classwork for your entire department. Classroom, we can do gyms. We can do something on Notebook LM. Do anything you want. I can custom create some PL specifically for you and your needs. Just let me know through email. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Our hour is just about done. We've got less than 1 minute to go. So let me put the link to our feedback survey. Today's session was called Google Classroom and AI Made Easy. Click on that link in the chat. That will pull up our survey details. My name is Chris Justice. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me.